Alright, so here's my next project. This is a Kubota, the GR2100. So it has a 3-cylinder diesel engine under there, water cooled. Everything is shaft driven. You look up underneath, shaft drive to the transmission. And there's the rear deck. It's a 54-inch, and you can see the drive shaft here. So that's the only belt that's on this joker, and it actually looks pretty good. It's quite amazing when you the thickness of this mower deck. I'd have to look it up. I mean, it's a very thick gauge. Pretty amazing, actually, and it's actually pretty clean. Not a whole lot of rust. You can see where it's had some scratches. The tires look very worn down. The front for sure. This thing is a 4-wheel drive when you're going straight, and when you're turning, you can see it has the power assist, power steering on it. When you're turning, and it does a very tight turn radius, and when you're turning, the inside rear wheel, whichever one, if you're turning left or right, whatever, the inside rear wheel disengages, so it's a freewheeling, and you're able to take a really tight turn. Looks like it needs a lot of work. The engine cranks right up. It's an amazingly smooth engine. And I need to take a look at the transmission. It seems like it slips when you're trying to go uphill. But that's it. This is the before pictures. And I'll keep showing updates as I progress with this project here. All right. So I am finally getting around to working on this Kubota, the GR2100. It's been sitting around for a year, but during this year I went ahead and bought the rebuild kit for the Transaxle. It wasn't cheap, but I think it's well worth it once they're rebuilt and they're running. They're great machines, right? Now, it's a known fact. I mean, it's a known problem on that generation of Transaxle that, you know, internally they used bushings instead of bearings. So when you look at the rebuild kit, there's a lot of replacement bearings and parts and half of the case that usually gets chewed up. But once they're rebuilt, they're great. So, and there's also something with the glide steer on the front wheels, and I haven't really looked into that much. I just know of it, but we'll take a look at it, you know, while we dig into it. I am probably going to have to split this up into 2 parts. The first part will be disassembling the tractor and actually removing the Transaxle. There's a lot of stuff that has to come off, and it does take a while, and you can follow along with the workshop manual, and I'll include which issue or, you know, the number for the shop manual so you can follow along. And then part 2 will be actually rebuilding the Transaxle itself and then putting it all back together and testing it. Now I'm having to split it because I'm still having to order parts as I go along, and taking everything off, you know, and finding more unexpected broken parts that I'm gonna have to replace. So once I get everything off, I'm gonna have to wait a week or 2 while I get parts coming in, and we'll finish it off. So that's the plan. So let's get started. Yeah, the engine's just awesome. So the things I got to worry about when I'm moving up and around, it'll go forward and reverse on a very flat surface. If I try to go up any kind of upgrade, you know, up or down, it just won't go. And if I try to turn the front, you know, left or right too sharp, it just kind of stops. It just sits there. Well, let's get started taking this plate off and taking a look back there, and we'll start draining the fluids there. I guess the big question is standard or metric. Take the blue pill or the red pill. Looks like the blue pill. Either or, this 14mm or a 9/16, both will work. Oh, come on. Alright, so it looks pretty caked up in here. Of course, here's the filter. This is the suction pipe coming up from the bottom, and it goes back around. So it'll flow back over the top of the transaxle there. Down here, if I'm not mistaken, there's a screen filter. So before it sucks everything up from the bottom, it'll catch it on the screen. And that's when I'm expecting to have a lot of metal coming out of there. This one's a little different. I've seen where the suction pipe comes around and comes across, and this filter is actually sitting horizontal this way, and then it has the drain fitting on the bottom of that. Just take the two bolts here that hold on the screen, you just back that off and let it drain out. Let me check the dipstick up here. You can see the dipstick's up here. Yeah. Shit, it's not even showing anything. So it must have all leaked out. Let me clean some of this crap off of here before I start taking everything off. Make it a little easier to work on. Alright, that looks much better. That stuff was caked on there. I had to get my heavy duty power washer after it. See if I can jack this thing up a little bit. I guess I can put the jack underneath this. This looks sturdy enough to hold it up. Because I just want to do enough to slide my pan under there. I think that'll do it. And this will be interesting. I'm expecting to see a lot of metal shavings once I pull this back, and I'll let it drain out and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, let's pull it back and see what happens. There it is, all flowing out. There went a gasket. Don't want to lose that. So the fluid really didn't look that bad, did it? It's just not a whole lot in there. I remember you saw that when I checked the dipstick, it wasn't registering anything. And I doubt if like a pint or something, or maybe a quart max, has come out of there. And I believe it takes is something like 0.8 something gallons, you know, so roughly a little over three quarts. So the next thing, I'm going to unbolt the screen. I don't know if that just pulls out, or I know there's a couple of bolts on the other side, but I'll take a look, and we'll take a look and see if any metal comes out of there. Alright, so I'm going to get my little pick. Yeah, there we go. Looks like it's just going to pull right out. Yeah, there's definitely some metal. There's some sticking to it there, and I see some still hanging out. Yeah, so there's all the metal. You can see it here on the screen. And all the metal here starting to build up. I'm still pulling a lot of it out of the hole there. Looks like some of the different colored stuff too. This looks like aluminum. Some of it looks like it's brass. So you can see the brass particles there, and there's a bunch of the aluminum. So it'll be interesting when we take that sucker apart and see what's coming apart in there. But we'll get all that out of the way, and we'll see what it takes to take this off. Looks like if we lift the body up, take the tires off, lift the body up, and these bolts here on each side, there's two on each side, looks like this whole member will drop down. But we'll just have to disconnect all these hoses, all the hydraulic hoses. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I was kind of looking this thing over, and I noticed this rod here was loose, and I can feel the curve right there where this, you just wore a groove into that threaded rod right here. And this, you can see the spline down in here. Can you see that? This is going to the front end. So this had been taken off, or it came off or something, and this thing is just wore it out. I mean, here's the main drive shaft. And it's okay, of course. It looks kind of separated there. And then here's the PTO going to the mowing deck. But I can't believe this is completely off. Man. Well, I'm making a little progress, but it's getting dark out there, and I'm hearing some thunder. So, time to put things away. Okay, so we need to take all this stuff off of here, take the spring off. You can see where this is rotating there. There's a pin. Take that pin off. Disconnect your safety switch. Take this rod off. I don't know if it'll be easier to take it off here or go ahead and take it off here at the bottom. That should pop out and just take everything off in one piece. And we've got to take these linkages off because this bracket is actually part of this whole bar going across. You can see where the bracket's welded right here. So we need to take this, and the same over there. And this whole bar will come off. So once this is all off of there. Alright, so let's take off this spring. Doesn't that look funky? That off. Remember, here's that one where that threaded rod was snapped down at the bottom. You can see that. So, I don't know if you can see that down there, but yeah, it just snapped right off, and it's been rubbing at it for a long time. Let's see. Yeah, so this doesn't come off until you rotate it far enough. There it is. And here's the safety switch. Disconnect that. Alright, put that one off. Get all this out of the way. There we go. I'm going to put the bolt back on so I don't lose it. So I just pulled the whole dipstick. You can see it came off. And I'm not going to bother plugging it up because we're about to take it apart anyway, right? And the joker is on there. Go. Hope I didn't miss any of the video here, but you can see where I took these hoses off. This was routed down right there to the rear wheel. Same thing with this side. They just popped right off, and then a hose clamp right there. So there's the hoses going to the rear wheels. Okay, so I was looking at this. We're at towards the last of it here. Up here at the top, we just need to disconnect these two lines here, which is, if you follow them, they go up to the steering. So this is for the power steering. We need to disconnect those. We need to disconnect this U-joint here. To take off the main, disconnect the main drive shaft. These two are already really disconnected. We'll worry about that once we get it all off. Down here, what I was looking at, so these two big thick cables here, you can see one's to the left, one's to the right, and if you follow them, they go to the front here. So when they're pulling back and forth, that is what's activating their, what is it called, Insta-Glide or whatever, so that when you're taking a really sharp turn, the inside rear wheel disconnects. So I'm sure You can see how this is spring loaded. So I'm sure down there that's where a clutch pack is inside that releases the inside rear wheel. If you're turning left, it's going to be inside left so that you can take a real sharp turn without tearing up your yard. But the big thing is, you can see here's where one of the cables, where you can see it, and it's spring loaded here. Well, here's the spring load on this one, but the cable is snapped. The cable should be going, yep, there's part of it trying to stick out. So we're going to need a new cable for the right side. So there's a few things broken on this that was unexpected. Alright, so it looks like we can get the cables off first. I just back these nuts off, and then you can see the pins that are holding that end on. Of course, this one's snapped off, so I just take it off here. This one I'll take it off here. I hope this other cable is still good because I only ordered one. Alright, let's get the U-joint and drop this main drive shaft off. Well, that's about as far as I can back it out, but I think once we start dropping this thing, the transaxle, I think this will slide right out. That's off, that's off. There we go. That made life easier. So I think I'm going to support this up here like this with a bungee cord or a wire tie or something. That'll free all this to drop down. Alright, so I got my engine hoist in place. It's ready to go. The last thing to do, these two bolts and this bolt, so 3 on each side, and this will release the transaxle. Alright, so I got to put it up on some jack stands for safety's sake. I'll leave it connected and it'll be ready to drop down. There's the transaxle and everything's off, so this stuff looks like you can just take it right off, these bolts, get all these brackets off, get this main bar along the bottom off. That should be able to come out, no problem. See the U-joint, let's see what's what here. So this was the main drive coming from the main, the rear drive shaft. This is going to the front, which this is the one that was already off. It was just dangling there. Hopefully the spline isn't damaged too much. And this is the PTO. Goes to either the mowing deck or there's an extension, I believe, that goes out to the front for a snowblower, I think. So I'm going to clean this sucker up. Yeah, with this table in the tent here, I feel like I'm at a trade show or something. Get your Kubota Transaxle right here. Anyway, so I'm going to continue on, but I think I'm going to stop this video and the actual rebuild will be on part 2. Sorry to split it up like that, but you got to admit it was a lot to go through to get this sucker off, so we can concentrate the second part on the actual rebuild and take my time doing it. You know, there'll be some long videos, but I think it'll be worth it. And by that time my parts should be coming in. Mainly, what did I order? Hydraulic fluid, a new filter, the glide steer wire or cable, got that ordered. PTO rod, that was just that threaded rod that was just hanging there. So that stuff I've got on the way. So by the time I finish rebuilding this thing, the parts will be here. We'll be able to put it all back together and give it a test run. That's that for now. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Watch for part 2 of this Kubota Transaxle rebuild. See you then.